All right, hey everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. This is Mark. Welcome to another Greenbridge Investing Market Analysis. This is a live stream, so if you are new, this is how it works. You can enter your symbol into the chat now. So once I complete my analysis, then I can get to the stocks or markets that you'd like to see. Also, if you're new to Greenbridge Investing, please make sure to check out our website at greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have a swing trade signal service by text, by email. We have a portfolio management ideas that we send out by email. And we also have a chat room where we update a lot of trade ideas and market perspective each day. Okay, so with that being said, let's get this thing started. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Now, let's begin with Bitcoin. I want to spend some time here. I know when we had our podcast the other day, I spent a lot of time on Bitcoin because this is a pretty challenging area to deal with, okay? Especially for inexperienced traders. What you're up against is not just the price action being tricky, but you're also up against a lot of noise and a lot of hype and a lot of other nonsense that comes from the internet. And you have to compete with trying to filter that out. Plus, you have your own emotional barriers or obstacles that you must deal with as well. We all do, okay? So it could be fear of missing out. It could be fear of losing. It could be, all these different things, okay? Other insecurities, whatever. It could even be bias. It could be, overestimation bias, stuff like that. Things that we are not even aware of can affect our decision making. So it's very important to really isolate the information that matters so that you could make better decisions relative to what the market wants to do, not what you want it to do. Okay, that's a very important distinction because we have a lot of people, they come to us, they see maybe an article that we write, hey DJ, an article that we write or something, and they come to us expecting lots of trades, lots of action. All right, but we have a swing trade strategy, which means trades are going to be infrequent. In the month of October, we only had 2. And November, we've had 0 so far. And we're like basically half the month is over. And we have no trades. Looking back, should we have taken this one? That was a tough trade to take. That was a signal, but we didn't take it. Okay, so no trades. And we're not going to chase it. So some people, they can't handle that. And if you're one of those people, you're going to have a hard time in this business, especially if you're trying to capture broad moves. Okay, anyway, so let's talk about Bitcoin a little more here. And by the way, if you guys have symbols or markets you'd like to see, just share them in the chat. I know we had a question about Amazon in our free chat room, so I'm going to make sure I get to that when we talk about stocks. So I'm going to talk about Bitcoin. I want to go over the stock market real quick, and then I want to take a look at your stocks. Also, if anyone wants to see any currency pairs or anything, just let me know. All right, now. This level, I updated this level here, 18,450. I've been basically saying 18,500. It's basically the same area. And that is a projected resistance, okay, using the projection tool. And I measured that from the March low, which is all the way back here. Now, based on that, this is basically a 1.0 projection. What that means is this point at 1850 is basically 100% of this, the low, the March low to the low that was made, like going into October there. Okay, so those projections, by the way, they only look great after the fact if there's a reaction there. So you can't sit there and bet on them. A lot of people like to do that, and if it happens to work out, great. But a lot of times, price will just ignore it and just go right through. The thing is, when you have a point, it gives us an area to anticipate a certain type of price action. And the question is, does the market produce it or not? Now, in this case, yesterday, we touched the level, okay, 18,483, and we got a doji. That's a reaction. That means the level is relevant, okay? This is relevant. And now today, we're trying, right? The market tried. We're getting another doji. I would not want to be long from these levels for a swing trade. Definitely not. Now, again, you're going to see a lot of hype. You're going to see a lot of people who are trying to buy into these little minor higher lows, predicting 20K and blah, blah, blah. Do I think 20K is possible? Sure. Do I think it's going to go straight from here? I don't know. It might. I mean, this is definitely a strong market and there is momentum. There's no question about that. But the thing is, the risk is too high. So keep in mind, I'm talking from the swing trade perspective. I'm not talking about from the investment perspective. As many of you know, people that are in our chat room or members with us for a while, we've been trimming out of our inventory on this move up, right? Our most recent trim was at 15Ks, around there. And now we're just sitting in the rest of our inventory and our portfolio is doing really well. But it wasn't always doing that well. We had to make a lot of adjustments along the way and get rid of garbage coins and replace them. As Andrew put out earlier in the chat room, he explained, how our portfolio back in April of 2018 was full of junk coins. And our objective was to reduce exposure from those and buy Bitcoin with that money. And that's what we did when we had the opportunities, okay? We didn't chase these garbage coins. We didn't buy more of them. We got out when we could at least reduce the loss or whatever it was that we had, and we reinvested that money into Bitcoin, okay? And that was the smart thing to do. Now, I mentioned that again because during the podcast the other day, someone had come into the chat and said that, we're just short-term oriented and we don't know much about the potential of these coins over the long term. And it's not, the comment didn't upset me, but it's important that people recognize the accuracy of what we do. And what I mean by accuracy is, obviously we do have a handle on long-term because we're managing a long-term portfolio. My videos tend to be very short-term because that's my style, okay? But that doesn't mean that's, Andrew's style. We work together and he handles a lot of the long-term stuff. So I'm short-term oriented. So of course, all my stuff is going to be short-term. Purposes for the purpose of these videos is to give you perspective for the next few days, okay? Or maybe next week, not a year from now. So now, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, Jane, thanks for joining. So here's the thing. Again, with Bitcoin, the risk hasn't changed, okay? We weren't willing to buy at 15 or 16. I was not willing to put out a swing trade. I'm certainly not going to put one out now, okay? I want to see a better level. So here's the key thing. The key thing is we need the level first. Now, we're facing a resistance level, okay? That's what we're facing. I don't want to buy into a resistance. That's just not what I do. That's not how our strategy was developed. We want to buy into a strong market, but we want to buy at levels that provide better probability and better risk. This thing can easily pull back into the 15s. I mean, it's very within reason. Even on the way up to 20K, this thing can pull back for no reason. Some dumb news comes out. You know how it goes. Comes out of nowhere. And next thing you know, it's pulling back 1,000 points and no one can figure out why. Doesn't matter why. So all we can do at this point is look at levels and say, well, what can this thing realistically pull back to and give us a potential buy signal? And right now, I'm going to say, old resistances become new supports. We have a resistance, or had one, around here somewhere. Okay, it's not going to be exact, but it's somewhere around there. We had some selling activity right before this amazing move. We had a little bit of selling activity, and we had some back here too. Those were resistances. So if there's a retest of those levels, there's likely to be buying activity there. Okay, again, you have shorts that got short. They're still short. They're going to become buyers when this thing gets back there. That's just a phenomenon that occurs in every market. Okay, so that's basically the low 16s, perhaps high 15s, around there, right? That's 16,200 basically. It's possible we could see the high 15s. I'm willing to adjust to those levels now if price will deliver such an opportunity. Okay, if price does not, and it wants to just continue, well, I'm not going to buy. I'm just not going to buy it at these levels. I want to at least see if I'm going to put out a swing trade at a tight support or a minor support, I need to see something, at least something like this. Okay, this little situation here with an inside bar, something. All right, I'm not going to just jump in. So those are some important distinctions. If you feel that you're missing out, or you're running out of patience, just keep in mind this is about, when it comes to long-term performance, it's about controlling your behavior in these situations. You have to look at the probabilities. And like we bring up poker all the time because it's so similar as far as when you have to make judgments at the poker table. Okay? If you have a lousy hand when you start out, which typically on the average you will, the right thing to do is to throw it away. But there are occasions, as you know, when that lousy hand could have turned into a big win if you had held on and bet through. But probability says over time, if you play that lousy hand 10 times in a row, you will lose 9 times. Why would you do that? Okay, but some people like the action. They like that action. It's exciting, and to start out with a 2 queen, offsuit, and then it turns into a full house, by the river, okay, or the turn, and that's like, yeah, that's exciting, and then you win and you feel, oh, I'm a great poker player, but it's just the cards happen to come out your way this one time, right? So this for short-term timing is very similar, and that's why taking trades at these levels, even though this one time it worked out nicely, if we had taken that trade, yeah, it would have paid off. And, oh yeah, we're great traders. But if we took that trade 9 out of 10 times or something like that, it wouldn't work. And that's not what we want. Okay, so again, we have to wait for the retrace. We have to wait for a setup. We have to wait for confirmation. All of our stock trades, as many of you know, because you've been following our stock trades, and many of you have been taking our stock trades, they're based on the same principle. Okay, especially the short-term ones, especially the ones I send out. They're based on the same principle. There needs to be a level, there needs to be confirmation, there needs to be a setup. And once those things exist, I can measure risk, and I can measure reward, and I can determine if the potential is worthwhile or not. Okay, they don't all work out. We get stopped out of things, of course we do. But the thing is, our wins are greater than what we lose, and we're always manage risk first. Okay, so that's the Bitcoin situation. I know I just spent a lot of time on this, but I want to make sure that it's clear and people understand, why we're sitting out and what we're waiting for. Because again, people come and they see this action, right? Intraday, this action probably looks amazing. I mean, look, let's look at a 5-minute chart, right? If we open up this 5-minute chart, there's going to be action in there, okay? And people say, oh, look, you missed this move right here, and there was a move here, but that's all, for the time frame that we trade, it's all noise. It doesn't mean anything. All right, so you can't get caught up in that. Anyway, that all comes to having a very well-defined strategy, and that is something that we have. So let's move on. You have any questions about Bitcoin, please let me know. Let's also compare real quick to a couple of altcoins, because that's the next question we get. A lot of altcoins. Look at Litecoin. Wow, this thing's at 83.42. I mean, that's pretty crazy, right? That thing is, right now, it's outperforming Bitcoin, which, you never see something like that coming. Okay, that's fine. Not going to buy this, though. It's the same situation. You can't chase this thing. If you're not in it, you're not in it. Okay, now is not the time to buy. We have to use Bitcoin as our lead. Now, the fact that Litecoin is now outperforming, okay, that's a good sign. That means maybe it's breaking away. Maybe it's going to start doing its own thing. But I'm not going to take the risk right now to find out. I want to see a pullback. And something like Litecoin, the pullback is going to be around here. That's the ideal level. I don't know if Litecoin will deliver that. What is that, 65? Around there? That would be ideal. Okay, it may find support sooner than that. But again, Bitcoin needs to be our lead. If you're in Litecoin in this type of situation, just like anything else, this is a great time to distribute. Okay, lock some in, take some off the table. If you have, let's just say you have 100 coins, I don't know, from lower prices. Why not sell 10 coins? Why not sell 15 coins? Why not? Okay, sell when you can while the buyers are there, not when it's pushing lows and it looks ugly and every report that you read says Litecoin is worthless and it's going to zero. Okay, so that's what you have to keep in mind with these. Let's take a look at some of these other ones. How is, like, let's see, XTZ, USDT. Okay, now look at this, for example. And this is what you have to consider, because I get a lot of altcoin questions, and so I'm just going to bring this up now. If your coin is not outperforming or doing something spectacular like Litecoin is, okay, it should be up here or with Bitcoin at these highs, if it's doing something like this, that means no money is flowing into this. Now, yeah, maybe at some point things will change, but the risk is high, very high in these, because if Bitcoin pulls back and the majors pull back, where is this thing going to go? If no money is coming into this thing right now, and a few people are just jumping in hoping that this thing starts to follow along. You have to recognize that, okay? We talked about when, the chart structure can tell you a lot about the capital that's flowing into these things. Clearly, the majors like Litecoin and Ethereum, they're doing what they should be doing. They're performing with Bitcoin. Things that are not performing with Bitcoin are acting relatively weak, and that's a red flag. Okay, so you should be able to recognize that right away. You don't have to be an expert chart analyst to figure that out. Okay, so anyway, so let me know if you have any questions about that. Now, let's talk about stocks real quick. Let me see what's going on in the chat here. Hey, DJ, Sean, nice to see you. Jay, yeah. DJ, nothing. Oh, right. Oh, I know. No, I wasn't upset. I just wanted to make sure that new people coming to the chat understood that was an inaccurate statement that person was making. That's all. That's what matters to me, because there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of inaccurate information out there. And, the guy may come to some of these things and get the wrong impression. And maybe that's my fault, because I don't talk about long-term stuff. Or I don't talk about how great fundamentally these things are, because most of them aren't. But as you know, I'm not a fundamental trader to begin with. But so anyway, I just wanted to make sure there was clarity. Pow, amazing summary on swing trading. Yeah, right. Oh, cool. Thanks. Okay, DJ, sold one of my Nikola options. Oh, nice. All right, so yeah, we're going to get into those stocks here in a minute. In mid-K, sure, no problem. So before I get into that, let's take a look. Let's start with the major indices, right? Let's start with the S&P, because these things have been tough this week, okay? SPX, USD. Sure, no problem, Sean. Let's take a look at these, because they've been conflicting, right? So the S&P started out, earlier in the week somewhat strong, but we kept warning about the location. Tough location, right? And that means it's going to be a tough location for many stocks, because the S&P, of course, is an important timing gauge. And if the S&P can't rally and the S&P pulls back, where are a lot of stocks going to go, right? They make up the S&P. So, there was a sell signal, the other day? Didn't really go very far. As you can see, today we're getting a bullish inside bar. And it's the location is still not favorable. So this is a tough spot, because the risk is very high at the location. And, there's going to be some stocks that are going to be giving buy signals in something like this. And there's going to be many that are not, right? It's mixed. So in these situations, it really helps to be selective. Yeah, you're going to miss some stuff. I mean, it's going to happen, but you're better off being more selective and more cautious compared to a time when something like this is testing a real level, okay? A level that's interesting, a level that provides probability and much more potential would be something like that. All right, and we were there just like 2 weeks ago. We were testing that level. I remember I was doing a webinar, right? And it was like the Saturday before the election here in this country. And I remember asking our members, okay, I know DJ was there and a number of people were there. I remember saying, what is the market telling us here? Okay, and everyone said long. Everyone said it was a Saturday. Okay, the election was on a Tuesday. And the rest of the week was long. But that's the level that I want to see if I'm buying stocks. Okay, or if I'm going to be more aggressive with stocks, or if I'm going to put on, decent sized positions or whatever. That's the place to do it, not up here. Now, this may generate a continuation pattern to go long. It's possible, like Bitcoin, in those 15Ks. It's tricky, but it's possible. Keep in mind, we do have some, we have the holidays coming up, and that's typically an optimistic time. Now, things are a little unusual this year with the global situation. So it's hard to say, you can't sit there and predict, oh yeah, it'll just do this. You can't do that. All we can do is go by the price action, and this price action has been very tough. So obviously things must not be clear to the smart money that has the money to move markets, right? Things must be uncertain. The candles are narrow, they're small, and there's really a lack of direction here. Now, something to keep in mind is when something is generally weak off of a resistance and you get a sell signal off of a resistance, there should be follow through, okay? There should be pretty harsh selling like we saw back here in October. We're not seeing that, okay? We shouldn't see a little mini bullish doji on a Thursday. We should not be seeing that if there was going to be real selling. So no one is taking, there's no conviction, all right? Which means that could be a hint of strength. So again, it doesn't mean, you have to avoid all buy signals, but just be cautious because again, it could start out this way and next thing you know, you get the sell candle. And then, I should have paid attention to the location. Why didn't I pay attention to it? If we break out instead and we take out these highs, 36.40, or we start taking out those highs and we have this higher low, this area becomes an established higher low, then I would say the Santa rally is in progress at that point, and you're going to want to be long stocks, okay? Or buy signals should be back in, more favorable. Now, let's take a look at the NASDAQ in comparison. And same situation, right? Bad location, but these candles are not following through. If I was short the NASDAQ, I would be uncomfortable with this right now. Okay, I would not want to see a candle that looks like this. That means there's no follow through. All right, there's no conviction. There's no, that's not a good sign if you're short. Now let's take a look at the IWM, the Russell 2000. We bought some puts. We had a put trade that we sent out. I know some of you are in this, and I know I received a question about this the other day. It's a tough spot. It's a tough hold. Now, we're basically betting on the NASDAQ and S&P pullback, but they're not pulling back, right? You have a potential double top situation here. That's nice, and it even took out this low, yesterday's low, 175.86, took that out. But again, we're trying to close green, so doesn't mean we're going to have a rally. It's just it's a tough spot. So I know Andrew talked about, I think he wanted to roll those options into the next week or next month. I forget exactly what he wanted to do with them, but that usually just buys you more time if this thing goes against you. But at some point, you may have to take the loss if this thing just wants to go into the Santa rally. We just have to be careful. Too early to judge that, but I'm just saying it's tough, okay? And if I was not short, I'm not short the S&P, I'm not short the NASDAQ, then I would hold off on, putting on new shorts as well. As you all know, we don't short Bitcoin, but we do short, things like the S&P and NASDAQ and things like that, okay? Or we buy puts. So anyway, that's those two. Now, a couple of stocks I want to talk about real quick. Look at this. Remember this stock? Jumia. Oh, man. This thing's at $23.75. This thing sold off on earnings just a week ago and came right back in everyone's face. Unbelievable. But there's nothing you can do with that now. Look at that. Right back to that previous high. Okay, that August peak. And there's no sell signal there. Man. Anyway, what are you going to do, right? So if you miss something like that, you can't worry about it. There's other opportunities. Some of these other ones that are starting to show, progress. Look at Groupon. Remember this one? I sent this one out like 2 weeks ago. There's the order right there. All right, we reached our first target of 26.50, and we're at 28.07 is today's high, right? So we're getting close to that second target. Keep in mind, for those of you that are watching this who are new, this trade was not taken on any type of reaction. I wasn't reacting to any kind of news. Oh, great news on Groupon. I saw it. I saw a signal. I was able to measure my risk. I saw the pattern. I saw the level. All the criteria lined up, and I shared the trade idea. Okay, that was back here somewhere. The trade idea took a couple of weeks. We even had to sit through earnings, this nonsense here through the earnings around here somewhere. And now it's working out well. But what people don't realize is that idea had to start out somewhere, and these swing trades can take some time to develop and unfold. Remember Workhorse? Originally that one took like 2 months when we had that one to start doing some, reaching its targets. Here we are. This trade is basically back in our favor just about from the short put that we had about a month ago, and that put our cost basis at around 23. And here we are fooling around 22.75. So, we believed in this one. We just believed in it. That's why we didn't bang it out at those lows. because these things have potential. So anyway, I just wanted to point those out and just make a couple of examples. Let me get into what you guys have to say in the stream here. And oh yeah, real quick, euro. Let's just do the euro real quick. This has also been a very slow to unfold situation. Now, when you have these situations, there's no reason to force trades. You know, you may find yourself in a stock that's doing something similar. There's no reason to force trades here. We are at a resistance, okay? The price action is saying that it doesn't want to sell off from the resistance, right? Especially with this outside bar that we're getting today. So what do we do? Do you buy this thing? Do you sell this thing? No, you do nothing. There's nothing wrong with being flat, right? Flat is a position. It doesn't matter why the euro is doing what it's doing. All we know is it's at a resistance. All right, a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, I remember Henry saying to me, oh, you know, the situation in Europe is bad and blah, blah, blah. And in the UK, it's bad, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, these things are going higher. So that's, again, another example why over the short term, fundamentals mean nothing, because we don't know all the information that's going on in the world. As much as the mainstream news wants you to believe that they're reporting everything that's going on, we don't know a lot of what's going on. But the smart money does. And they're going to act on the news before the news even comes out publicly, right? That's why charts, if you know how to read them, can provide clues that you won't get anywhere else. So the point with the euro, again, nothing to do here. We're at a resistance. If anything, I should be looking for a sell signal, but the euro is strong. The trend has not changed. This thing is probably going to try to break out. So, you know, shorting this is going to be a counter trend trade if I were to do something like that. So I'd rather wait for a long signal, to be honest. So just, and that's really the story of the US dollar, right? The dollar is obviously getting weaker if the euro is going higher. That's the relationship. So something to keep in mind there. All right, now let's talk about what you guys want to see. And real quick, let me just say this. If you're new to Greenbridge, please register for the channel here so that you get an email notification from YouTube every time I do one of these videos. Plus, if you like the video, please press the like button because it's encouraging. It's nice to see. Also, check out our website at greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have a swing trade signal service by text, by email. We have portfolio management ideas by email. And we have a chat room where we're updating ideas each day. And we have a 7-day free trial. So I highly recommend you try it out, because we are going to raise our prices. If you go to our website right now, you go to our pricing page, you're going to see our low prices. They're low. We're going to keep it this way for maybe another week, and then we're going to raise them. We're not going to raise them on our customers. We're going to raise them for everyone else who joins after. So here's your chance to lock in very low prices, especially the yearly package, which comes to $20 a month. Okay, so let's go to the chat. All right, so greetings from Italy. Oh, nice. Italy. What part of Italy are you from there? Travel Berlin. That's nice. Italy's a nice place. Okay. So let's see. What else do we have here? Pow. Okay. Right. Thank you. DJ. Okay. Yeah. We talked about Nicola. So MIT K. Pow. Let's talk about MIT K. So this one was one that Andrew, I know, talked about this a long time ago. And there was a trade. I know there's a trade in this, but we're talking months and months ago. Nice pullback, okay? That's what you want to see. That's what we'd like to see out of Bitcoin, okay? Something like that. Anyway, so let's look at the first thing I want to look at in these situations are levels, right? It's the first thing. Where are my levels? Where are my support and resistance levels? There's a support right there. There's one over here somewhere, okay, right around there. Remember, these don't have to be exact. Markets are not exact. There's a resistance up around here, okay, right around there somewhere. And then, of course, we have the peak, which, you know, may be an inflection point. Markets have a memory, and, you know, perhaps selling activity would return up there. Also, levels like that are very important when it comes to trying to determine potential and selling, you know, targets, predetermined targets. So as far as support and resistance, we're near that 11.5 support area. You have a little double bottom situation inside of here. 12, what is that? 12 and a quarter area. Okay, and a possible failed low. So this is not a bad setup here, not a bad situation. Failed low relative to that 12.5 low. You have a bullish candle in there. So the next question is, how do I determine my risk, right? Is this thing worth taking risk on? Well, let's see, what's the high of today? 1224, okay? So if I were to buy this, it'd be around 12, let's say 1230, 1240. You always want to put that buy stop slightly higher, not exactly at the high. And then what's the low of this candle? Okay, 1180s. And then you're looking at this inflection point or this support around that 1150 area. The stop will have to go below that. Okay, the stop would have to go somewhere around here. So in somewhere like maybe even the high tens, just to just to give it some room. So if you're risking, what would that be? About, let's just say 2 points. Okay, maximum 2-point risk. What kind of targets are you looking at here? If you're buying this thing at 12, let's say 1250. Let's just say to make it even, 1250. I mean, so you need this thing to justify taking 2 points of risk. This thing needs to go there, okay? In these situations, I prefer to get out of some of it in the middle of the range because you don't know if this thing is going to go for that new high. It might. I mean, you are in a bullish trend here, and typically bullish trends make higher highs, right? So it's within reason to expect a higher high. But I like to get out earlier usually because, a lot of people, what they do is they do this. They start getting out early, right? So that's why I like to try to reduce risk right away. So if perhaps you could figure out a tighter stop, and then that would make this thing a little more attractive in terms of reward risk. But at this point, I don't know. I mean, I think there are probably better charts out there that offer better reward risk. Right now, you're looking at basically 1-to-1, and you have to pretty much hope that this thing tests that high. Okay, so that's the thing with that. It's not the most attractive. It's not bad. You have things going for you. It's just there are probably better charts out there, right, with more potential. So thanks for bringing that one up. I hope that answers your question. Again, if you that stop that I talked about, a $2 stop, that was really maximum. If you're taking like a $1.50 stop, your first target should be at least 1-to-1. You should be getting out at least part of your thing at 1-to-1, at least, not less than. Okay, so thanks for bringing that one up. So DJ, oh right, okay, so we talked about that. So SPCE, sure, let's take a look. SPCE, all right. So we're familiar with this one because we've had some trades, and this one's popular in our chat room. Now, again, we want to start with the levels. Okay. Hey Sandra. We want to start with the levels, and we want to see where should we be thinking about doing things. Right now, those are the levels. Let's see where those are supports. These are resistance levels up in here. And here's the thing. So we're at a resistance basically. The $24.50 to $25 area, we can say that that's a resistance, okay? Selling activity is likely to appear there in terms of probability. So it's not a place we'd like to buy. Definitely not. I definitely don't like these type of breakouts because look where this thing's coming from, by the way. What is the low of this structure here? The low is $17. So, if I'm looking at something like this, the first question I ask myself is, where was I at $17? Why am I going to buy this thing here? Because here is where I'd be selling. If I had some, I'd be selling. Okay, so not a place to buy. What you have to do in this situation is look for the next support. And right now, that's around the, what is that? $20 area. And $20 was a pretty significant resistance looking back. I mean, it touched that level a few times and sold off. So it is a potential inflection point. I'd rather see a test of 20 before I even consider doing anything. Of course, that has to be followed by a setup and confirmation. If 20 is cleared, then I'd be looking for a double bottom in that 17 area. So you have to see. But right now, I'd be eyeing that $20 area. It's in the middle of this range. But if a stock like this breaks out further and then pulls back, at least it's letting us know that it's trying to trend instead of being stuck in a range. So in those situations, I don't mind if I have to buy in the middle of a range that was attempted to be broken, because I would be looking for at least a test of that high. Okay, that would be within reason, rather than something that's established a range. Like if this thing right now sells off tomorrow, let's just say, right at this level, and then we test that middle, I mean, I'd be a little more reluctant to take it. I'd really want to see some structure develop there, and I wouldn't be so quick to take it, because if we're range bound, I'd rather see the lower part of the range if I'm going to do something. All right, that's where probability is favorable. So, for me, I don't care where these things go. I'm only interested in when probability is favorable. So either it is or it's not. If it's not, I'll find something that is, okay? And eventually this thing will give us a better probability. A lot of people, they don't look at it that way. They just chase things because, their friends told them to buy it or something. Or, they saw a report that this thing's going to, some bank comes out and says this thing's going to go to 50 by next week and blah, blah, blah. You can't make decisions on that kind of stuff, okay? It's all about probability. Those people that put out those reports, they don't talk about probability. They just say, well, I project it to be here and here and here, and they have great earnings, and they make a lot of money, and I know the CEO, and he told me they have all these secret stuff coming out, and blah, 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 and all they're doing is pushing inventory. I mean, that's really the purpose that they serve. Whether they mean to be doing that or not, the purpose, when you're taking in that information, their purpose, or the purpose of the company is to push inventory, push their stock, because they need capital to do things, right? And how do you get people to buy your stock? Well, you put out good stuff about it, okay? Anyway, so Meli, let's take a look at Meli. I hope they found that helpful. MELI. This is the South American Amazon, I think it is. So yeah, look, strong stock. This stock's expensive. Strong stock, higher lows, higher highs all over the place, right? That's all good. We're going into the holiday season. I would imagine an online retailer like this should be doing well. Let's talk about support and resistance levels. Okay, so again, you notice I never talk about fundamentals. I don't follow fundamentals. They're not part of my swing trade strategy, because I've learned over the many, many years that I've been doing this that they're meaningless over the short term. Okay, markets are not rational, and fundamentals rely on being rational. Logic, okay? Markets don't operate that way. So these are the levels that I see right now. What is that? 1372 resistance, which you're at right now. This could potentially turn into a head and shoulders, although I wouldn't give that much weight in terms of being bearish, because the broader structure is clearly bullish. So what do you do in this situation? Well, if you're in it, hey, I would be looking to distribute. Okay, that's what I'd be doing if I were in it at these levels. If you're not in it, wait for support. So here's the support right here. What is that? 1243, right? That's a reasonable support. This thing can easily pull back 120 points. It can do it. I mean, look, it went from, what's this high here? 1458 to, what is this here? 1221. That's what, 225 points in a matter of 3 days. So we can easily do 120. All right, you can probably do that in 1 day. So just keep that in mind. That's the level to consider. That's a pretty good inflection point, especially since there's some historical price action that was established back here, right? It was an old resistance. So I'd be anticipating a new support again. And plus it found support there earlier in November. Look at that, right? Nice. So I would be eyeing that level again for a setup. If it can go slightly lower than that, basically below, what is this? What are these lows here? Basically 1200, the 1200 area, slightly lower for a failed low. That would be even better if you can get that. But again, that's all a big if. The market has to deliver that, or it doesn't. Okay. I would expect with the holiday season, probably a pullback. If you're going to get one, it'll probably be tighter if you get one. If you don't get one at all, I wouldn't chase. Unless you're a day trader, I wouldn't chase these things, because things change real fast, right? Why take all that risk, especially with a mover like this one? Okay, so thanks for bringing that one up. I hope you found that helpful. All right, let's see what else we got here. ONLN. Oh yeah, sure. Let's take a look. I think Henry, we talked about that one with Henry. All right, so let's take a look at it. ONLN. ONLN. By the way, if you're new to Greenbridge, please make sure to like the channel. If you like the video that I'm doing, please press the like button so that I know. Otherwise, I'll think no one likes my videos, and it's not very encouraging for me to do these. So also register for the channel if you're new, so you get an email notification when I do one of these. Okay, now right now I'm looking at levels. First thing I want to see, levels. All right, if you notice, I do this for every chart, levels. And there's the double top at the $70 area. Possibly even, I mean, would I call that a triple top? Well, it didn't touch exactly over here. So I'll call that a double top. We have a potential lower high developing here. This situation right here. This is, I mean, it's an ETF, so it's following a group of these stocks. At this point, I mean, I'm willing to bet that Amazon is the problem, right? Because Amazon is obviously a big heavyweight in this. And look, Amazon is not doing anything spectacular here, right? Amazon is a concern. Now, Amazon is consolidating. This is a symmetrical triangle, kind of like Tesla was doing before that had its move. And these patterns are often trend continuation patterns. So Amazon just needs to, do its thing. Once it does its thing and starts breaking out, then you'll see that ETF start to go. So that's the thing. Now, if Amazon needs to do that, if Amazon does not, and if Amazon sells off instead, it'll probably take the NASDAQ with it because, Amazon is a pretty heavy weight. And I would imagine it's a heavy weight in this ETF as well. So keep an eye on something like that. At this point, I wouldn't do anything with this ETF in the middle of the range. You notice Amazon was also in the middle of its range. So if you're looking for high probability, wait for the low part of the range if it wants to go there, okay? Which would be what, 6170 area? That's the low part of the range. That could be a fake out. Amazon could pull back for some news comes out for some reason. Amazon pulls back, and next thing you know, you're at this level, okay? I would watch for something like that and see for the bullish reversal at such a situation. At this point here, like I said, this is a 50-50 trade. Now, again, we have catalysts or potential catalysts coming, which should push this thing higher. But I prefer, the higher probability. That's just a personal thing. If you can handle the risk here, if you don't mind taking the 50-50 trade, you just have to figure out where to put the stop, which at this point there's really nothing, you can't put it on the previous candle, that's too tight. So you'd have to put it below this low, which is 61.88. You'd have to put it at like 61 even or 60 and a half or something. It's a lot more risk than really is necessary. Okay, so thanks for pointing that out. DJ, Andrew had a price target of 22,000 on Bitcoin since early 2019. Oh yeah, no, I know we've been bullish. We were never bearish on Bitcoin. In fact, people used to give me a hard time all the time on TradingView for always being bullish. Okay. I was being bullish because the structure told me to be bullish. If the structure had told me to be bearish, I would be bearish. I just follow the structure. And since that March low, we've been bullish. Now, an interesting point that you bring up, DJ, is when Bitcoin was pulling back to that 3,000 level, we were careful. We were buying into that with inventory, as you may remember. But we were careful not to get too aggressive with that because we knew that, hey, anything is possible. Bitcoin could possibly go to 2,000 or 1,000. We're open to the idea, but we're not going to short it. For two, we're going to wait for stability, right? And that's what we did. And then we started buying it after that, okay? So for me, it's all about what the charts tell me. And Bitcoin was never really that bearish, okay? Even at that 3,000 low, the bigger picture was still bullish, believe it or not. All right, which a lot of people don't pay attention to. So here, next question, should we add to the horse? I assume you're talking about workhorse. So let's talk about workhorse here. If you're talking about workhorse, at this level, I wouldn't add to it. I mean, the move is in progress. And so look, we took out this resistance right here, but barely, right? Barely. And we're getting this bearish candle situation right here. So I wouldn't add to it now. I'd see where this bearish candle goes. These stocks could be a pain. Now, they have a lot of potential, and as we can see, Nicole is starting to go. They're all starting to go somewhere, right? Workhorse starting to go. That's great. But we may get that little pullback. And so there's no reason to buy into this now and take unnecessary pain. Wait for the pullback, especially since you're near this resistance and you're getting this bearish candle, which can turn into a sell signal, possibly, if we take out the low. So, are we going to get out of our workhorse based on that? No. we're going to stay in it because, we believe in the longer term, you know, in the longer term, what do you call it? The longer term view of this thing. So we're just going to hold on to that. We like their value proposition, but there may be a buying opportunity on that pullback. I'll be open for a swing trade. So, or putting out a new idea if it can develop such a thing. But right now I would hold off. Okay. Oh, AMC. So DJ was mentioning AMC not too long ago. So AMC is the movie theater chain, at least around here. That's what they have. And this is one of those aggressive options plays. Okay. So AMC, I haven't gotten into this thing yet, but the whole premise behind something like this is, if things return back to normal, which, I don't know, it's tough to say, with all these governors in this country calling for all kinds of restrictions, if this thing starts to benefit from things going back to normal, it's possible that AMC can start testing the sixes, maybe the low 7 area, right? Now, a strategy on something like this are cheap options, and that's why DJ is bringing it up, because if you can get options super cheap on something, and we were talking, what, 2 years out or a year and a half out was like 90 cents or something, that's cheap for that much time. For what I think, what call were you talking about, DJ? Was it the $7 call? I forget, or was it the $6 call? So if you're buying an option, with a year of time or more, and you're paying less than $1 for it, just divide that number by 12. And that's how much it's costing you to rent 100 shares for a year, per month, right? Think of it as you're renting the shares. And if the shares work out for you, you get paid on renting those shares. You're talking like $10 a month or something like that to basically rent the shares. And if this thing, has that move over the next 3 to 4 to 5 months, that 95-cent option is going to be worth $2, okay, or maybe more. And that's a nice win, right? With that's the whole idea behind something like that. Not to make, not to buy an option for $100 and think you're going to make $1,000 on it. That's unrealistic. It can happen, but it's unrealistic, okay? So, Sandra, nice to see you. XRP, sure, let's take a look. XRP, we've been getting a lot of questions on this one too, XRP. Now, this one has been, I've been, not too crazy about a lot of these coins, but this one has been doing something at least in line with Bitcoin. Let me see something. Let me see XRP USD. I mean USD and USDT. It's going to be the same chart. Okay, let's take a look at this one. It's the same chart. Now, so my thing with altcoins is, my first question I ask, is it performing with Bitcoin? Is it outperforming Bitcoin, or is it underperforming Bitcoin? I can say in this chart, it's performing with Bitcoin. That's what I want to see. Okay, Bitcoin's pushing highs. This thing is doing what it should be doing. It doesn't look like Tezos or some of those other underperforming coins, right? So this is a good sign. Now, it doesn't mean I want to buy it here though. All right, so what that means is I want to wait for a pullback. Now, with this current candle, that's an inside bar to go long. All right, if it closes and you take out the high at 30 cents, that's a long signal based on the strategy that we employ. But the thing is the location. Okay, this 30-cent area, just like Bitcoin at 18,000. Look at the history here. Let's draw some lines at these previous turning points back here, right? We've visited these levels before, and it didn't go much further, right? Obviously, others knew that, and there was a bearish candle in there, so someone was distributing something off of there, right? But there is no selling momentum. Obviously, Bitcoin is holding up well, so this is holding up well too. Okay, fine, no problem. But my point is this: if you're buying this thing now, you're facing this resistance, okay? You're facing this whole section right here. And if Bitcoin turns while this thing is stuck in there, what do you think this thing's going to do? If Bitcoin pulls back to 16,000 or 15.5 or whatever, what's this thing going to do? So it's really not worth the risk, in my opinion. You're better off waiting for a higher probability inflection point. Like that would be somewhere around here, 26 cents. I mean, that's, 4 cent difference, really big deal. But, if you're doing this with 1,000 coins or more, that could be meaningful. So that's, the technical level I would be looking for, something like that, if you really must get involved in something like this. The other thing I have to point out about XRP is all these altcoins, they're better for longer term, holding, not really for swing trading. These are not great swing trade instruments. They don't move very well. They're very sluggish. They waste a lot of time, and they can, they get very noisy. They could shake you out. So if you're going to work with these in with inventory, meaning long-term portfolio style, like we do with Bitcoin and all that stuff as well, because remember, we have portfolios that we're managing at the same time. The swing trading is just a speculative portion of the portfolio, and that's how you should have everything separated out the same way. I would wait for these type of coins. It's best to wait for what I like to call hated prices. Okay, hated prices, like when it's pushing an extreme price. Why is XRP going to below 22 cents? Or some news came out, or they hate this thing, or whatever. Bitcoin, they hate Bitcoin for some reason now. Blah blah blah. That's when you pick up these coins. Okay, not at highs. You buy them at lows, and the only time they go to a low is when they're hated. Problem is, when they're hated and you go and you start looking, I need to look up some news. I need to see what's going on in the world. All you're going to see are negative reports. Oh, XRP, the founder, he did something bad or whatever. They just come up with all kinds of nonsense, and it's all meaningless. Okay, you have to look at the levels, and you have to be willing to step in. Very hard to do when they're at hated levels. Okay, as you can see, going back a couple of months there, this thing pushed that 22 area. Okay, and I don't know what was going on at that time in terms of news or anything else in this thing, but look, it was an old resistance. Okay, that's not a coincidence, by the way. That's a common behavior. So just something to keep in mind. Wait for an inflection point if you want to if you want to get involved at a price that's more likely to go in your favor. Otherwise, if you start buying this thing now, which I know Andrew would say something like, well, take a small bite, and if it goes to a better price, you buy more. Okay, so you manage your risk with size. When it comes to inventory, yeah, we do that all the time. If we really like something, we'll just take a small bite, even if it's at a bad price, and we'll let it pull back, and we'll buy more if it pulls back. If it doesn't pull back, well, we're in it, and then we get the benefit, even with a smaller position. The idea is to manage risk with size. Now, many of these altcoins, remember, they're highly speculative, even now. And you have to be, the only way you could be a strong hand in these, and I know some people laugh, but the only way you can really be a strong hand is to be willing to ride them to zero. Okay, if you can do that and you manage your risk appropriately along the way, meaning you don't get too big too fast, and this thing goes to some really unattractive prices, or I should say attractive prices for longs, but if it goes to some hated prices, then you could buy with confidence and say, hey, if it goes to zero, well, I gave it a try, and that was it. So that's something you have to keep in mind. So if you price it that way, then you will probably have better control over how you size. Common mistake is people get too big too fast. They buy $10,000 worth of this thing, and then it pulls back 50% on them. Okay, that's not the way to do it. Okay, so thanks for bringing that up. So also Litecoin. Right, so Litecoin, as I was pointing out earlier, beautiful move, okay? And it's right now it's outperforming Bitcoin, that's a good sign. We want to see that. But can't buy it at these highs. This is a place to distribute. Like I said, if I had Litecoin, I would be selling. I would be getting out of some. Now, I wouldn't get out of all of it. I wouldn't get short Litecoin, so don't misunderstand. What I would do is lock in some profits while the buyers are buying, okay? While they're all excited, while all the hype is out on Litecoin and everyone's willing to, borrow money and buy whatever, here you go, take some Litecoin off my hands, no problem. Distribute. These are distribution levels. So, going back, let's just go back here a bit, okay, to earlier this year. Look where Litecoin was, okay? What is this? Back in February, March? Look where Litecoin was, right? Litecoin was really a star back then, relatively speaking, and here we are back at those levels. Does this look like a level you should be buying? I hope you say no. So this is definitely a place to sell or distribute some, and there's no sell signal there either. So again, it's also a place to let it ride if you have some. Like I said, the inflection point that I would wait for is 65 or somewhere near 65. It may not go back to 65 exactly, but maybe 68, maybe 70, something more reasonable than where it is now, followed by a setup, followed by confirmation. Okay, that you have a better probability there of getting in with a good reward risk. And again, I'm talking about swing trade. I'm not talking about investment. Investment style, you know, we like to see extreme levels, and we're probably not going to see those for a while. So, you know, an extreme level on Litecoin would be like back to 50 or something, which is not likely right now. So things change though, and when those opportunities come up, you have to have the courage to step in. A lot of people change their mind at that. Oh, forget Litecoin. I'm not buying it at 50, and then, you know, it goes back to 80. So just something to keep in mind. We've done that with Bitcoin, by the way, from 2018 till now. Every time there was a dramatic sell-off and everyone was dumping their coins because it was going to zero, we always bought some for inventory. Did we buy the bottom? No, but we bought at great low prices. Okay, did it go lower on us? Sure, but it was inventory. Okay, we didn't overload the size or anything like that. We just put some in. And what do you think we've done since then? We've distributed the inventory. So that's why our average price was, I think, what, in the 6,000s at some point, and we've been unloading as this thing goes up, and we still have some. That's inventory management, okay? But you have to have a very long-term plan, and you have to be willing to ride these things to zero with these. These are not high-quality stocks by any means, okay? Just to give you a comparison. Cannabis stocks have better potential than some of these. Okay, so DJ, AMC, the $5 call. The $5 call for $1.12. I remember the other day, DJ, it was 95 cents or 94 cents, right? So it's gone up a bit on AMC, right? Because obviously AMC is trying to perk up there. But even at $1.12, that's not a horrible price, okay, for that much time. That's a lot of time. So again, you divide that number by 12, and that's how much it's costing you each month to rent 100 shares of AMC at the $5 strike price. And $5, that's nothing for this thing. I mean, look, it's been there. That's the middle of the range, $5, okay? That's the middle of the range. It's not even the high of the range. So it can get to, do you think it could get to $5 in less than a year? I think so. All right, this thing is fooling around with it. $3, it's only a $2 move for this thing. It can do it in a month. So, and you have a whole year. So I definitely like the idea. DJ. I may put a bid out for like $1 or something, just to be, you know, just to be cheap. But thanks for bringing that one up. Starbucks. All right, let's talk about Starbucks. Yeah, this one, Andrew used to be all over this one. Wow, this thing's at 97. I remember when this thing was messing around like in the 80s. And this thing was it was tough to get involved with, but I know we had something with this. Nice move on this. What do you do with this now? Let's take a look at the levels. First thing I want to see are these inflection points, and just going back. This is going back over a year. Okay, we're back to the highs of August of the year before. Look at that. Okay, so that's an important note right there, because that means that this is not a place to buy it. All right, if you're not in Starbucks, don't buy it now. You have to wait for support. If anything, that's going to require a lot of patience. This one is not a stellar mover like some other stocks. And right now, that inflection point would be here. What is that? The 90.85. So you could say 90.5 area would be a good place. That was obviously a resistance. It got cleared. There was a gap, right? It got cleared, and it's been performing nicely. Hopefully, you've taken some profits along the way there. But yeah, I wouldn't touch this thing unless there was a test of those low 90s for a new swing trade, at least. You know, even as an investment, right? Which, you know, Andrew's talked about this one as an investment a number of times. This is not a place to put on an investment. It's at a high. It's at a multi-year high. I mean, look at that. That's pretty impressive. You want to see at least give you a support level, not a resistance, okay? Even for something like that. So remember, things change real fast. And one minute they're looking great. You know, you buy it when it looks great, and then a month or two go by, and why is this thing at its lows? I thought this thing was supposed to be great. and some bank came out and gave them an upgrade to $200 a share. Why is it at 70? Right? So you can't make investments based on that stuff either. Technicals can help you, even with investments, as far as getting more advantageous prices, as opposed to getting not so good prices and having to take pain. Because if you take too much pain, you're more likely to bang it out at the worst price. Okay? Okay, good question here. Perhaps you can also talk about when to add to a winner. Good question. That's a tough topic. Now, so here's the thing. Putting on more, when you have a winner. The question is, it's all going to be relative to the position you're in. Now, depending on where you bought this, like for example, if you bought this thing just the other day, okay, let's just say you bought this thing around here somewhere, right at 90, what is that, 96, and it's up $1. Oh, I got a winner. I'm going to add more. Not a good place to be putting on more, even though it's a winner, okay? But if you bought from a much lower price, let's say you own this thing from like, I don't know, 85, okay? Let's say you bought it on the failed low, there was a setup there, all that stuff. You bought it, it's working out, and now you have, let's say you bought 100 shares, because that's what you were willing to take the risk on. Okay, fine. Now, it starts to go your way. When you want to add to a winner, what you're looking for are continuation patterns, okay, or more or new buy signals. Now, one such pattern would be a breakout, okay? Now, since you're in, I'm not a big fan of breakouts, but if you're in a position and it's a winner and it's going your way, why not add on a breakout, especially on a bullish trend? This trend is not bearish in any way. Higher lows, higher highs, even up till that point, right? Let's just cover this up a bit, okay? Even up till this point, before that gap. Yeah, it showed a resistance there, okay. But this trend, arguably at this point, is still bullish, followed by this higher low. I'd be at least saying it would be within reason to see a higher high. At this point, if you asked me, should I buy right there? I would say you should probably wait for a pullback, okay? And of course, there was no pullback. It gapped, perhaps on earnings or whatever it is. Now, in those situations, if you see a reason, now, at that situation, right, there was an inside bar, two inside bars, and it gapped. What do you do when it gaps? Well, if it gaps, that's a tough decision to make. But if you're going to add, there's nothing wrong with adding to something that's going your way, okay? So you have to use discretion there. If you're going to add though, the question is, how much are you going to add? It's not just about putting on more, it's about how much. And again, it's like judging an individual trade. Say, okay, I got 100 shares from a great price. It's going in my favor. I want to buy more. What do I buy more? So you wait for a continuation pattern. There was a potential one here, and you say, okay, I'm going to buy it on this breakout. Okay, but instead of breaking out, you get the gap. Oh man, the gap. Okay, what am I going to do now? You have a few choices. You still want to add. I mean, obviously it's strong. You could say, well, I'll wait for the pullback and add, right? Again, just like you're taking an individual swing trade, and you're going to add a smaller amount. So you own 100 shares, perhaps you're going to add 25 shares. Or maybe you want to add 10 just on this high because it's high. It's like, all right, well, it really broke out big. There's a gap. I know it may pull back, but I really like this thing long term. I'm going to buy 10 shares, 10 more shares. So now you have 110 shares. Thing goes against your 10 shares, right? So it goes from, what is this, 97.62 to 92.66, pulls back 5 points. Do you care about your 10 shares that's now taking 5 points of pain? Probably not. Okay, and then what do you get? A double bottom situation, okay, mini failed low in the middle of a gap. That's a continuation pattern. You can judge it that way. It takes out this high right here, 94.73. Perhaps add another 10 shares, maybe 15 shares because it's a higher low. Now you have an average price, right? You've put on 25 shares between 97.62 and what is that, 94.73. You now have an average price of probably around $25.50 or whatever it is, right? Plus your 100 shares from a much better price, even more. And now the whole position is starting to go your way, right? Your 125 shares or whatever it is that you've accumulated. That's how you add. Okay, you add small increments, you add small bites instead of, oh, I'm going to double up the position. You don't want to do that because now you're taking a ton of risk unnecessarily. That's when the market's going with you. Okay, this example is an example of a market that's going with you. The other example that a lot of people, which is probably more common because there's usually more hope involved, is when the market's not going with you. That's very difficult. Let's take a look at an example like that. What's a stock that's lousy? Let me think here for a minute. Something like here, with Stinger, right? STNG. Now it's starting to perk up, but let's talk about when it wasn't. Okay, this is Scorpio Tankers. We called this one a long time ago, and before this energy move here, right? This nice move, it was garbage. Okay, so a lot of times people get caught in these situations where this trend is not bullish, right? There's nothing bullish about this, and they keep buying more. You keep buying more, and you keep buying more. This is where you don't want to keep buying more. Okay, it tries to pop up. You buy some, it goes lower. You buy some more, it goes lower. You buy some more, you go lower. You don't want to do that. Okay, if you buy something and it's not going your way, you don't add to it. You want to hold on to it. Okay, fine. Now eventually it starts to turn. It took weeks and weeks and months, but it's starting to take out this resistance here, and now for me it becomes a stock of interest because it's starting to take out or starting to mess with that resistance, right? Weak stocks don't take out resistance levels. Weak stocks take out supports. So this stock is starting to become a strong stock, or it may be if it takes out that resistance, because that is not what weak stocks do. So let's say you've been sitting on some from, let's just say $12 or something, okay, or $13. You've been sitting on it. It's not been performing well. You're sitting on it. This thing goes to a low of 8.29. I think someone asked about it over here at 8.29. I said, no, stay away from it. And I was wrong, but this is the structure I want to see. I'd rather miss the bottom, because what if you bought it over here at this pin bar low, right? You had to take this pain. I'd rather miss that bottom and wait for this structure to develop before taking risk. Okay, I've made this mistake many times of buying a bottom, thinking, oh yeah, I got the bottom, only to watch it get cut in half again. So that's why I'd rather wait for the structure to prove itself. Let other buyers step in, let them take the risk, and then I can take a lesser risk, okay? So, my point is this. Let's say you bought some, and now you're waiting to add. If it pushes that resistance of 11.5, okay, there's now a reasonable situation to put on more shares. So you had 100, now you maybe buy 25 more or 15 more at that breakout, because it's starting to prove itself. It's changing. It's not pushing lows anymore, okay? It's taking out a resistance. That's a change. That's when you add. I know that was a very long example, but I wanted to at least contrast both types of situations, okay? The bullish situation versus the bearish situation. All right. Also, if you're in something and it goes from bullish and turns bearish on you, then you should not continue to add on something like that, unless it's at very small increments. Okay. So good question. Sandra, what do you think of XLM? Okay, I believe that's Stellar Lumens, XLM. Sure, I'll take a look at that. And then after that, I'll wrap it up, because I know I've been talking for a long time. Those that are new probably don't realize that I like to talk a lot. And you probably don't want to hear me talk for 2 hours, but I can do it, right? Anyway, so we won't do that today. I'll answer this question and then we'll wrap it up. I know many people are tired here. They've been at this all day, and it's like midnight in some places, and I know you want to go to sleep and you don't want to be hearing me. So anyway, let's talk about XLM. And so again, this is one of those coins. It's trying, but this is not impressive at all, okay? While Bitcoin is pushing those highs, like I said, and Litecoin and all those, the coins that are doing spectacular things, as they should be, right? Even XRP is doing better than this. This thing is still struggling at a potential resistance. That's not good. I don't like this at all, okay? So yeah, we can argue that there's some bullish structure developing, got a higher low, but you haven't taken out this meaningful resistance, number one. Number two, relative to Bitcoin, this thing is not performing. So I would not buy any of this. That's just based on the fact that there are better performing coins out there. Why would I invest in something like this? Okay. So if it can change its tune, it can begin by breaking the resistance. And then perhaps showing me a higher low. But the big question that this thing needs to answer is, if Bitcoin pulls back, where does this go? So if Bitcoin pulls back to 15 or 14, is this thing going to go over here to, what is that, 6 cents or the high sixes or whatever that is? Is it going to go lower? Is it going to go to 5 cents? If Bitcoin pulls back a couple of thousand points, I don't want to be in something that's underperforming. Okay, right now this whole structure, even though we can argue there's some little mini higher lows here, this structure relative to the broader structure is potentially a lower high because it's not pushing those highs. That means it's relatively weak. So that's what I think of stellar lumens. This is not one that I'd be excited about or going after. You know, if you have some, all you could do here is hope for the best. If you don't have some, there's no reason to take risk on something like this. I'd rather wait for a pullback on Litecoin, or even something like XRP is a better choice. Okay, so thanks for bringing that one up. Hey, Alice. Alice has a question. Well, I have to answer Alice's question because Alice and, you know, a few other people here like DJ and, you know, Michael and Jay, and they've been with us a really long time. So when Alice shows up when I'm about to wrap things up and he asks a question, I'll answer. So that's what you have, Alice. Can you please check NOIA? Okay, it's a coin. Okay, trimmed some, but don't really know what to do here. Close out or let it run? Sure, let's take a look. When this type of coin pulls back, it pulls back hard. Let's take a look, Alice. So NOIA. Well, now what is that? NOIA, is it USD? Is it USD? No. NOIA, USDT maybe? Okay, yeah, that looks like it. Let's take a look at this. What's the story? One of these crazy coins. So it's on the KuCoin exchange. And let's take a look. First thing I want to note are the levels. Wow, I mean, nice move. There's a support right there. What is that? 4 cents. Took out this resistance right here. Great. Okay, nice move. Nice move. Where are the next resistances is a question I want to answer. We have one there and we have one up here. Okay, so those are the levels of interest. So you're basically getting into that zone. So Alice says that he's trimmed, okay, and don't know what to do here. Okay, no problem. This is a pretty simple situation. There's no sell signal. Nice strong green candle. So if you're in and you're trying to let a winner run, let it run. You've taken some off the table, because the first thing I would tell you is if you haven't taken some off the table, take some off. You've done that, no problem. So now that you've locked in some, nothing to do here, but let it ride. Let your winner run. And what you could do, two things, okay? You can wait for an actual sell signal, all right, meaning you get a bearish candle, you get a pin bar, you get an inside bar, you know, something like back here. Okay, you wait for one of these situations. So you're not going to sell the top. Okay, you're not going to sell the top. One of these situations right here. But you'll get, at least you'll have let it run as much as it could before it gave you a real reason to get out. So that's one thing you can do. The other thing you could do is you can use a trailing stop in this situation and see how far it goes. And you could trail by maybe 1 or 2 candles. You know, like you'd put your stop here at this low, or slightly below that low, which is what, 76 or 7.076 or 7 cents, 7.5 cents. Or, you know, you could use this low here, 9.5 cents. This thing is right now, what, like 2 cents higher, almost 3 cents higher. So you could do something like that. And again, with the trailing stops, you're never going to get the top, right? So this thing may have a dramatic run and then pull back and just tap you right out. That can happen. But the idea here is to let these things run. Okay, when you have a winner, let the market determine the exit. Don't try to second guess it, and don't try to pick the top, because it's just not going to happen, right? You know that. You of all people know that, because you've been with us long enough. So those are the two things to consider. But hey, you have a winner. So that's just let it do its job and figure out how you want to trail that stop, or if you don't want to use a trailing stop, at least wait for a sell signal. Okay, another sell signal would be you take out the low of the bullish candle anyway, 95, 9.5 cents. You take that out, and the next candle opens up and then turns around and takes out that low. That's a sell signal. All right, so you can wait for that and see how far it goes. So like, again, a nice example of something like that is look at Jamia. Look at this ridiculous stock. There was no sell signal, and there's still no sell signal in this thing, and this thing's at 24.22. Wow, this thing's just going to keep going. This thing closed really strong. My point is, there's no sell signal here. Okay, there were some back here, but there's no sell signal right now. So maybe your coin wants to do something like that. Let it do its job. That's what I'll tell you. Let it do it. Let the market do the work, and let it tell you when to get out. NOIA USDT. Right. Okay. So great question. And also keep in mind you have these inflection points, right? You're at one right now, so see how it behaves. So if you get the sell signal here, that would make sense. That would be in line with the resistance. Or you have the one at 14 cents. If you get the sell signal there, that would also give you more confidence to make an adjustment or to exit more, because that's where a sell signal is likely to show up. Okay? So the question is, will it show up, or will this thing run to 15, 16, or 18? Because when the herd mentality gets out of control, this thing can just go until it doesn't want to go anymore, until it runs out of buying participants. Okay, so great question. So it's Pepe. Okay, let's see what Pepe has to say here. Brilliant summary. Oh, thank you. With your membership, about how often do you have? Okay, I'll probably sign up as I really respect you. Well, thank you, Pepe. Thank you. So we don't have a lot of trades. I mean, we're not a day trading outfit, for one. So we're not going to have like one trade per day in Bitcoin. And to give you an idea, we had 2 trades in October. Only 2 trades in Bitcoin. All right. Most of our trades, most of our action has been in stocks. As everyone can tell you here, we've been doing a lot of stock trades. Bitcoin, like I said, we only had 2. And the second one was an alternate trade, meaning we didn't add to our position. We were in and we saw another buy signal and we shared that one. Month of November, we've had no trades in Bitcoin. But we've been doing stuff with our portfolio, meaning we've been trimming out of things. So that's the type of action you'll see in that space. Because like I said, any new trades have mostly been stocks. We've had one currency trade, I think, one Forex trade. But that's the way it's been. It really depends on market conditions. We're waiting for a new Bitcoin trade. So I would say reasonably 1 or 2 per month at this point seems to be reasonable in Bitcoin. We don't really swing trade many of the alts. I'm looking for Litecoin now. I'm waiting for something, but this may take a week or 2 to develop. Same with Ethereum. And usually if I see the signal of Bitcoin, I'm going to call Bitcoin rather than Ethereum. Okay, so that's just to let you know that's what we've been focusing on. Market conditions have been great for stocks, and you could take a look at our stock record, or even ask some of the people here who have been in some of these stocks. Andrew's called a lot of great stock calls, and that's where we've been focusing a lot of our attention, because that's where it is. Okay, if you go, so there's going to be other sites. They're going to say, oh, we do 20 Bitcoin trades a month, but those are not swing trades, and they may show a great track record, but it's funny how when you get involved, the track record changes. It's because it's not realistic, okay? Especially if they don't have a well-defined strategy. So I just wanted to put that out there. All right, so Alice, doesn't really matter how many trades there is. Profits, right. And that's true. That's why we're active in all different markets. And we want high probability, low risk setups, and that's what we wait for. And that's why I don't care if this thing runs to 20K. I've said it before. I don't care if it runs there. If there's no setup, I'm not going to share a trade. We're very mindful that we have new members, we have people with a lot less experience, and if things don't turn out right, we don't want them to get caught. What if Bitcoin pulls back to 14K? It's hard to believe that it can do that right now, but it can happen, right? We've seen things like that happen. And it comes out of nowhere, all right? And then people get caught. They don't use a stop. They get caught, and now they lose all kinds of money. We don't want that to happen, so we're very mindful of the type of trades that we send out, even our swing trades. Okay? I mean, look, trade of the week. They've all been stocks. I usually pick stocks, right? What was our most recent trade of the week? Was what was it? Sunrun, right? Sunrun. Look at this. So this was the trade. We sent this out to our free members. So if you're not a free member, sign up, right? You get this once a week. Look at this one. Has this thing reached our first target yet? No, this thing's back to break even, right? 59.50, and look, we closed at 59.47 today. Had to take some pain on this stupid stock, but if this thing goes, you see our first target is 69.50. That can take a week to play out. This thing's a mover, maybe less. Okay, Fastly, this is another one, right? This one, I'll go to the target one almost, right? 82.40 was the high, 83.50 is our first target. Another trade that we sent out. So that's an example of a couple of, those are stock trades that we send out each week for free, okay? So definitely check those out. As a free member, you can even go back to our articles and take a look at all of them, see which ones work. They all don't work. Some of them stop out, just like anything else. And a couple of coins for free with the strategy. Oh yeah, right. Well, we do make an effort to help you understand why we do what we do and all that stuff. We don't just sit there and say, "Oh, just buy it. Don't worry about it. Trust me. I'm not going to tell you why. Just do it." Right? We don't do that. We try to make it very clear because the goal is to instill the confidence in you so that you can make your own decisions and at least have some reasonable perspective and control your emotions and the human nature that often get you into trouble. I mean, we all had to go through that process. Okay. So, look what Alice is saying here. He followed some gurus from TradingView before, and they posted a couple of their trades per day. And there was a bearish market and all those. Right. But and again, you have to understand the way this works, and I'll just finish up with this and then we'll wrap this up. The way this works is people want action, okay? And when you're a marketer or you're a service provider, in order to get customers, they know that you get customers if you put out a lot of action. We saw that a long time ago. We know how it works, but we still don't do that because when we got into this, we wanted to put out quality signals that people can rely on and people can learn from. We know that they're not all going to be winners. We know that. That's the way the business works. But we do our best to manage risk, and that's the key thing. We teach how to manage risk and the things to look for and the behavior, the right behavior to consider as you see different market scenarios. Just like I was explaining to Alice, he said he wasn't sure where he should get out of that winner that he's got. So I gave him some ideas. That is a reasonable behavior based on what the market is doing right now. Market conditions change. We have to adjust behavior. But there is a basic behavior that allows you to at least let the market do its job while managing your risk in the best possible way. And doesn't mean you're always going to have winning trades, but when you lose, you should be losing less than what you win. And that's what puts you ahead over time. As many members can tell you, Alice has been with us, 2 years just about now? DJ too. Jay has been with us a long time too. We have a number of people that have been with us for almost 2 years for that reason. So anyway, just wanted to mention all that. Big long advertisement there. Thanks, Alice, for sharing your experience. All right, everyone. So I'm going to wrap this up. I've been talking way too long, as you all know. Thank you all for your great questions and your participation. We do have a free chat room. You should check it out. You can go in there and ask questions. That's the whole point of the free chat room, by the way, is to answer questions. We don't sit there and put a lot of content in there because we don't know who's in there and who's not in there, right? Where our other chat room, our paid chat room, people are asking lots of questions and all that other kind of stuff. So come to our free chat room. Ask questions if you want to know about something. And we may not get to it in an instant because we have our other room, but we will get to it, okay? And it gives you an idea at least of, what's going on. So check out greenbridgeinvesting.com. Check out our swing trade signal service by text, by email. Check out portfolio management ideas and our chat room. We have a 7-day free trial. Right now, you have an opportunity to lock in our low prices. We're also no longer going to offer our monthly membership. We have a month-to-month. We're not going to offer that anymore. We're going to have 6-month and yearly. The reason for that, real quick, is in order to really gain the benefits from our strategy, you need to be committed to this, just like we are. We're committed every day. We put our stuff in there every day. And to really see those benefits, as Alice can tell you, or DJ, or some of these other people, Michael, Irina, many other people, they can tell you some of these trades, a swing trade can take weeks to play out. And what will happen is you may come in that 1 month where we don't really have a lot of swing trades, or maybe we get a bunch of stop outs. You're like, these guys suck. And then you cancel, and then you miss the next month where we have a bunch of big winners, right? And then you're like, how come I missed that? So you need to give it time, right? Because our strategy usually benefits from longer periods of time. So that's why we're going to do 6 month and yearly. But the thing is this, guys and girls, if you sign up for the monthly now before we no longer offer it, you can keep it as long as you're a member, okay? Once we do away with it, then people that sign up after that, it won't be available to them. So you have an opportunity to even sign up for the month-to-month package if that's what you want to do, if that's more convenient for you. All right, everyone, so I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you all again for your great questions and your participation and all that stuff. I love to see it. Please check our, come to our chat room, ask questions in there as well if I missed anything. I want to thank you all. Again, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world. All right, I'm talking to you from the greater New York City area, and it's just about, it's 4:30 in the afternoon here, and it's cold. Okay, it's no longer warm out here. Anyway, all right, you guys, so enjoy, and I will talk to you next time. Have a great day, and see you in the chat room.